Tyson Fury says he's willing to slap Andy Ruiz and fight him. He's not bothered by Andy Ruiz one bit. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chat channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. We working. Heavyweight division is starting to get crowded. You know, we got some good upcoming fights. Oscar Rivas versus Dillian White, Daniel Dubois versus Gorman, and Tyson Fury. I made a couple of videos about it, but he did an interview with BTG, link in the description, and he was basically ranting. It was an all-out assault on everyone. And the funny thing is, I mean, he dissed Oscar Rivas, said he was a bum, said Anthony Joshua was a bum. He says Dillian White used to get slapped up in sparring when they used to spar together, and he is a bum. He, in fact, called Dillian White, you know, he said he was a heavy bag with legs and arms. And then Dillian White, I made a video about it. So if you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing and, you know, make sure you follow. But Dillian White responded and says, man, I'm sick of the talking. I'm trying to focus on Oscar Rivas, but you need to come find me if you got all that to say. And, you know, Andy Ruiz was no different. He took shots at Andy Ruiz. Michelle Joy Phelps, she said something to the effect of, like, she was giving Tyson Fury almost a way out. She says, you did a previous interview where you had mentioned something about Andy Ruiz, and I think he took it as if you were talking badly about him, but you weren't talking badly. And Tyson Fury, you know, he still went in on Andy Ruiz, and he said, oh, I don't care if he's mad or not. I'm not bothered by it one bit. You know, I'll slap that little fucker. That's what he said. He said, then he pointed to the camera. He said, Andy Ruiz, if you want to slap, you can get a slap too. You know, I'm not worried about anyone. He said, Andy Ruiz, he's a bum too. Wow. So make sure you guys take a look at the link in the description so you can hear Tyson Fury say it out of his own mouth. But yeah, he said he's a fat fucker, and he'll be spewing marshmallows out if he punches him in the stomach or something like that. And then the next question, she kind of changed the subject and said, hey, do you get troubled by not being able to find adequate sparring? Because I heard through a lot of sparring partners that you're difficult to hit and that kind of stuff. Dillian White disputes that, though. Dillian White says he had Tyson Fury on his ass in sparring, you know, like dropped him. But obviously that's sparring stories. I don't know what happened. I wasn't personally there, so I'm not sure. Listen, it's all eyes on Joshua versus Andy Ruiz. Nothing happens with Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz, or Tyson Fury and Andy Ruiz, unless he retains his title, you know, and he has to get past Joshua. That's the next order of business. Joshua's already training. He's in swimming pools and, you know, trying to perfect his head movement, these different types of things, trying to right his wrong. So that's the first order of business. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but I do like what Andy Ruiz has done here, you know, because Andy Ruiz, he has in essence just shaken up the whole division. You know, before we were talking about Wilder Joshua, and Andy Ruiz, by defeating Joshua in that fashion, he has created new fans. You know, there's a lot of Mexican fans and Hispanic fans and Latino fans that may not have been interested in the heavyweight division because they didn't have someone that represented them, you know, in the heavyweight division, but now they do. So, you know, he could have brought a whole new crowd, and just people like myself who are fans of like a good underdog story, that good Cinderella man story. He is kind of reaffirmed why you love boxing, because anything can happen. It's the theater of the unknown. A lot of people looked at Joshua and said, oh man, he gonna kill dude. He's gonna kill Andy Ruiz. And that definitely wasn't the case. So, you know, I'm really happy. I'm happy with what Andy Ruiz did. You know, he said he's taking care of his mom now, and mama, we made it, basically. He shook things up. He shook it up, and he shook it up in a good way. Now we got to see what happens in the rematch, and beyond that, it's going to be real interesting. I'm curious to see. I don't know exactly what's on the contract, but it sounds like the game plan is for Tyson Fury to fight on ESPN against an American, maybe Trevor Bryan or Gerald Miller or somebody. Wilder to fight Luis Ortiz, and then Wilder and Fury, if they both get past those people, them to fight each other. However, if Andy Ruiz does in fact beat Joshua a second time, I'm starting to become curious if Al Haymon and Premier Boxing Champions would just elect to fight Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz in 2020. You know, I don't know the details on the contract. I don't know if the ink has dried or whatever, but everything's going to be contingent on Ruiz versus Joshua 2. But if Ruiz proves it wasn't a fluke, similar to Machado getting stopped again by Cancio, if he does that, then I'm wondering if they would even go forth with a Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder 2, because this would be for undisputed, and it would be an in-house Premier Boxing Champions type of deal. So you wouldn't even really need Tyson Fury. So very interesting. And I also noticed this. Tyson Fury, when Wilder said he was fighting Luis Ortiz, and then a couple of days later during Joshua's fight week, Deontay Wilder said, hey, I'm fighting Luis Ortiz, and after that I'm fighting Tyson Fury. Nobody from Tyson Fury's side actually came out and confirmed that. Nobody really just went out on record. You know, they were worried about Tom Schwartz, and they were pretty mum and quiet about it. And as soon as Wilder started doing interviews about, hey, I'll fight Ruiz, you know, I might retire young, and I want to be undisputed sooner than later. As soon as he started doing that, then all of a sudden, like a day later, I hear Tyson Fury, and he was on stage, and he was like, February 22nd, I'm fighting Wilder, and he actually confirmed it, which is a little bit weird because previously he hadn't confirmed it. Even after he beat Tom Schwartz, he didn't just immediately confirm that he was fighting Wilder. It was like this big mystery. So I'm starting to wonder if Tyson Fury feels that Wilder could go another route if Andy Ruiz wins again. And then now all of a sudden he's like, oh shit. Because here's the other thing. Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder Part 2, to my knowledge, would be a joint venture. It would be either Fox or Showtime working with ESPN. However, they wouldn't even have to do that if Andy Ruiz brings those belts back a second time and beats Joshua again. They wouldn't have to even include ESPN. They could just do an in-house fight. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the legal representation of these different parties have written up, you know, as far as contracts. I don't know. But I'm very curious behind the scenes if Deontay Wilder is locked in where he's contracted and, you know, obligated to fight Tyson Fury, or if it's just kind of like an unwritten rule in the pact that they're going to fight each other, and, you know, they have agreed to the principles of the deal. So I can't wait. You know, Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz Jr., that's going to be a very important heavyweight fight, because it's going to show us what's to come, or, you know, give us a different indication. Like for Joshua's sake, he has to win. He has to look good in this particular fight. He has to prove that it was a fluke, you know. But it's going to be a very important fight. A lot of people weren't checking for the first fight because they didn't think Andy Ruiz had a chance, but he proved a lot of people wrong that night. So now people are going to be checking. I'm also curious to see what went on. If the fight happens in the UK, if it happens in the USA, what type of contract that Eddie Hearn had in place. Also, will it be on DAZN a second time, or does Andy Ruiz dominate in that field and hold the power and hold the keys to get it on Fox or Showtime? Because it's taken a little bit longer, especially since 2-3 days after the fight ended, Eddie Hearn had already went public and announced that the rematch clause had been triggered. So I'm just curious to see how these things played out. Definitely some good excitement in the heavyweight division. You also have Joe Joyce and Brian Jennings, and like I said, Ruiz versus White. You have some other good fights, Daniel Dubois, Gorman. You got some other good fights. You know, F.A. Jogba is going to be on the Manny Pacquiao, Keith Thurman card. So I'm really happy for the heavyweight division right now. Let me know what you guys think. Tyson Fury said he'll slap Andy Ruiz up. You know, again, I'm not going to get too ahead of myself, but I would love to see it. If Andy Ruiz can get past Joshua a second time, I would love to see him fight Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder. Obviously, Deontay Wilder makes more sense since Tyson Fury has this imaginary lineal title and Wilder has a real active belt, and they would be fighting for undisputed. So Deontay Wilder being, you know, a long-standing heavyweight champion that never had the, you know, a drug addiction or anything where he had to lose his title, he would be first in line, I would imagine, if Ruiz gets past Anthony Joshua a second time over Tyson Fury, especially since it's an in-house fight, pretty easy to facilitate. So, you know, the implications are pretty big in the heavyweight division. Can't wait to see how it all plays out. If you're new, consider subscribing. Let me know what you guys think. We working. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.